It's almost like I don't want to look at the news, okay? Because somewhere out there I'm searching for life as we once knew it. The recent news coverage involving the 6-year-old and the teacher in Virginia, this stuff is really starting to bother not only myself, but a lot of other people, especially older people, because it's like, at what point in time did things change so dramatically, and what was the catastrophic change that caused all these things to go into motion? I blame it on 9/11 and the mishandling of that with the United States. That's definitely like the crossbones of the crux, okay? In addition to the fact that, the false persona and embedded belief that we have a big brother out there watching all this shit going on, and they, can step in at any time, which is such a hogwash of bullshit, okay? There's no signs of intelligence in the United States whatsoever. There is zero signs of intelligence found. I don't even know. They just must have never been there to begin with. I'm going to just say this shit because I just had this conversation with my father. All of this stuff really has to go back to a certain point in history where people did not pick up the red flags and the warnings associated with it in the direction in which our government was carrying us. And if they did pick up on those red flags, their voices were not heard loud enough by the right people to put a fucking stop to it. When I grew up, it was the parent's responsibility to prep the child prior to enrollment in school, and the eligibility was age. So before we could even apply to go to public school, we had to know the first 10 letters of the alphabet, know at least 5 colors, recognize 5 colors. We had to know the first 10 letters of the numeric system. We had to be able to tie our shoes, go to the bathroom independently on our own. We had to know what our name was. Preferably, we should have, they would want us to have the ability to write our own name. There was like a list of things, and I remember my mother used to work with me on the list of things to prep me for entry into public school. And once she felt like we had that home knowledge based on the requirements provided, we went in for, she would apply, and then we'd go in for this testing to make sure that, she says we can tie our shoes, and they bring us in for testing and say, can you untie and tie your shoes for us? Yeah, I can do that. And then you just do it. Can you, can you read the alphabet? Do you know the alphabet? Yeah, I know the alphabet. How far can you go with your numbers? Oh, I can go up to 20. Well, let's hear it. What's your favorite color? Can you pick it out in this room? Those were the requirements to enter not kindergarten, but first grade. There was no kindergarten when I was growing up. I graduated in 1982. No kindergarten. There was no preschools, no Head Start. Everything was taught at home. You have a kid, you're stuck with your kid until they're approximately 7 years old, and at which time, if they can pass the test, and you apply for their entry into public school, they can go to public school. And my teachers, when I was in high school, I asked, along with other people, we went into the guidance counselor's office for career explanation or exploration. We asked point blank, like all kids, well, we just want to get out there and make some money. We're not really looking for a career. And then, you still have to ask the question, so how much does a teacher make? When I was in school, public schools, teachers made between $10,000 and $20,000 a year. They taught at least 30 kids in one class, one teacher. That's what their responsibility was. They viewed teaching partly as volunteer and non-volunteer type work, meaning they were compensated, but they were not highly compensated for their contribution as a teacher. Now fast forward this stuff. Fast forward to when my kids began school. Because at my first child, I was 23 years old. And so she started school in, I don't know, 90 something, 95, I think it was. She went to preschool. It was not Head Start. The money for her to go to preschool came out of my pocket. She already knew all those things and much, much more from my household. But I paid for her to go to preschool for the social interaction as it relates to a classroom to help prep her so that she was not afraid on her first day of school. I paid $300. She went for 2 hours 2 days a week, I think it was. And I did that for each one of my kids. I had 3 kids. They already had the basic knowledge and learning from my household. It was just the social interaction and to help them get over that little fear factor of, being in a class with other kids that I paid for. They entered kindergarten. I never went to kindergarten. When they got on the bus, or when I dropped them off at school and watched them walk up the steps or in through the doors of the school, I had a sigh of relief knowing that my children would be safe for the duration of their school day. So when I went to work, I didn't carry stress and anxiety with me about something happening to my kids once I knew they were at school. I lived in a domestic violence situation, and my stress relief was knowing that they were safe when they were at school. Today, parents don't have that relief knowing their children are safe within the school doors. Big difference. Another big difference about when I grew up versus now when we talk about pay. Teachers now get paid 6-figure salaries, but they don't teach classrooms of 30 or more children. Their classrooms are broken up into little group sizes of 5, and they are like the team leader, and they have assistants that work with them, like direct reportables, as if it's some corporate fucking game or something. And here's another thing. When I was growing up, I came from a split household. My teachers, my principal, or none of the faculty where I went to school targeted me, harassed me, or belittled me because of my home situation. In today's world, in a public school, the teachers are so pathetically immature, reliving second, third, fourth, fifth childhoods, can't get a grip on being an adult, where they have to feed into the student drama going on, that they just can't fit into the pants in the skirts of the previously occupied positions of teachers that had not only the education, the knowledge, but the wisdom that comes along with maturity. They don't have that nowadays. I didn't have resource officers in my school. Which again adds with the pathetically sick, twisted minds of police officers egging shit on, looking for another bust. I didn't have that stress placed on me as a student in a public school. I didn't have to worry that my principal was carrying forth the blueprints on how to get rich, putting children in the juvenile justice system. The blueprint that was used with the Indian schools, later picked up and carried forth throughout the United States in all public schools. Here in New York, the PINS program, I didn't have to worry about that stuff because my school didn't operate like that. They were there to help, not harm the students. How can we help you? When I finally decided to, or let's say the door of opportunity presented itself to me after 17 years to get rid of my abuser, which never really happened, by the way, I took the steps to take me and my children away from the abuse by filing for a divorce. We didn't get very far because communities, by far and by large in the United States, use that knowledge to harass the fuck out of children. My children got behavioral reports after I filed for that divorce. Prior to that, no behavioral reports. When I filed for divorce, the behavioral reports up the wazoo on all three of them, in particular, the surmounting behavioral reports related to my son. The number of times I flipped the fuck out, where they later rendered me as some crazy woman. You denied my son when he asked to go to the bathroom. He had to go to the bathroom, relieve himself. You denied him when he asked to go to the bathroom. Could I be excused from this class for a few minutes? I have to go to the bathroom. No. But I really have to go to the bathroom. Too bad, you're not going to. And then finally, instead of pissing his pants, he just got up and went to the bathroom. And when he returned, what happened? He got sent to the principal's office. And he had to serve detention for that. That was behavioral issues. And when I showed up and said, you're violating his human rights, prohibiting him to go, being allowed to go to the bathroom. Are you allowing other students to go to the bathroom? Oh, they didn't like me. And how about when they would harass my children because my kids weren't on public assistance? They didn't get free meals in school. I packed my kids a lunch, and on the days that they didn't want their packed lunch, I also sent checks to the school. So if they decided on any given day, thanks, Mom, for packing us a lunch, but, we want to eat with our friends in the cafeteria, whatever they're eating, tacos, pizza, whatever. the money was there and available. Well, on this one given day, my kids didn't take their lunches. They had it in their heads they were going to, they knew that their lunches were paid for. And when they went to get their lunch, they were denied lunch. Because the cafeteria ladies, I get the phone call in the middle of the day. The cafeteria ladies said we couldn't have lunch because you didn't pay for it. Bull fucking shit, I didn't pay for it just because your accounting and your record keeping is not up to snuff. I get some canceled checks to prove it. But you want to deny my kids lunch? Well, I'm paying taxes and all these other kids are getting free lunches? Are you fucking for real? Oh yes, I had reasons to flip the fuck out. Behavioral reports all lead to disciplinary reports, which I later learned that they were calculating by the untold folds with the, ultimate agenda of sending my son into the juvenile justice system. And that's what they did, because the school filed a PINS petition with the family court to have him removed from my home. And despite all reading the law and all that shit, these fruitcakes do not follow the procedural steps in the law. Because it all boils down to the one thing that they care about the most, and that's money. In my public school, it did not cost $35,000 per student to attend a public school. That's what we would pay for a really good college tuition back in those days. To go to Harvard, I'm sure it would cost $35,000, $40,000 a year, which was not too long ago. Now that's the cost of public school. So I am just waiting because, the other thing is teachers, school administrators, principals, and those resource officers, including the board of directors, which there's no oversight whatsoever, and they push everything right under the rug. They're child molesters. And when, I'm not saying all of them are, a large portion of them are. And when they get caught mishandling children in inappropriate ways, they don't get any behavioral referrals. They just get transferred to another school here in New York. They get to keep their pay. Shit. Some of them even get promotions. The shit never ends. And I'm going to say it over and over and over again. There is absolutely zero intelligence in the United States. For if there was any form of intelligence in the United States, none of this shit would be going on. None of it. We are wide open targets for the rest of the world because we're living in a fake, false country. Not even a country. They could never muster up to be a country. And no matter how many times people like myself that have served in the military keep raising these red flags going, you're gonna take us down the wrong path eventually. We're gonna go to war. Nobody is listening. You're crazy. Really? Watch. Because those foreign countries are paying taxes into this mismanaged, defunct, uneducated, zero intelligence section of land too. And sooner or later, they're not going to want to contribute to the zero ding-dong factor that we live in. waiting for the outcome of the 6-year-old in Virginia who allegedly shot his teacher. Never in my lifetime, never when I was growing up, did I ever envision such chaotic, never-ending craps of shit allowed to transpire from the woodworking of the United States multiple bodies of government that could never join in to become one solid form under any nation, let alone some god. You know, if we're talking a higher power, that's got to be genocide in the United States, because that's what we're talking here. This shit has gone too far with the dumb asses in charge. Game over. That's all I'm gonna say. Game the fuck over. If you're not awake, you better awaken your senses and kick into survival mode. And I'm not kidding you. This shit's gone way too fucking far.